All right, this is just kind of a contact report with Mark Richardson. Mark and I had a coaching session today. Interestingly, we talked about the ocean model of personality and finding the right balance between openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. I think he kind of liked that, made notes around that, which took us over to a conversation around leadership, communication, self-awareness, and situational awareness. And we talked about that in the context of safety and tried to integrate that with the whole idea of how does leadership manifest and how does he continue to build trust, build motivation, as well as shape the thoughts and ideas of others toward a collective vision. So net of it, he's very serious about doing a good job, making a contribution, and he seems to really have just a good native understanding of what he needs to do to be a good leader. We also talked about visiting the Moundville plant in the fall when it might not be so hot, and kind of tour the sawmill. Mark Richardson, July 12th, 2024. All right. Contact note for Elisa Robertson. Met with Elisa this morning. She's really quite pleased that Maria is coming on board. She's made a number of plans to ensure that Maria has a good kickoff. Maria will be on site a couple of days next week. And I think that Elisa's doing an excellent job of onboarding her. On the downside, people are kind of looking forward to the change. But that's going to be okay. It seems like this is going to go pretty smoothly. Elisa's concerned that some of her old standbys who are retiring soon or are not very happy about change. End of the day, doesn't really matter if they're going to retire soon. I've told her not to get too involved. But I did suggest to her that she should point out to these people that they need to choose an adaptive reaction to the changes that are coming down. Overall, a lot of stress in the system around non-profitability and the stress of lumber pricing. But other than that, things are looking really strong overall. All right, so a few headlines on the conversation with Cade. We had dinner last night, covered the waterfront on a wide variety of things. Really don't feel like I was particularly effective. I don't know if it was the format, distraction of the food or what, but conversation was maybe overly broad and not enough focused on the adaptations that he's working on and the efforts that he's making to maintain an optimistic workforce, put on a brave face, manage the collective emotionality, and move things forward. So good spirits overall, and not as negative as this sounds, but we need to do a better job in the next kind of visit of getting in a more empathic and insightful place with working with Cade. He's a remarkably smart individual. All right, let's get a few words out on Julie Utterback, candidate controller, Kelsan. Julie Utterback was evaluated in July for the position of controller at Kelsan. She was referred by Monty Kilburn. She participated fully in the interview process, and this process was accomplished by video. Julie demonstrates a number of psychological assets as well as a panel of limitations. Taken in the aggregate, it appears that she is a solid match for the demands of the job insofar as we understand them. The following paragraph should help illuminate some of these strengths and limitations. Paragraph: Julie's developmental history is filled with work commitment, and early responsibilities. While she was an average student in a small private school in West Tennessee, she was also industrious, hardworking, and committed to outcomes. After a difficult adjustment at MTSU, she ended up at the University of Tennessee in 1991, where she completed a degree in accounting, where she began making better grades, becoming more focused and committed to a career outcome. She did participate in team sports as she was growing up. In her college years, she was oriented in relationships and working, and therefore didn't particularly engage in the typical college outcomes. She did have some good experiences traveling to Europe and France, etc., during her college years. Starting life as a CPA in 1991, she did earn her CPA. She ended up in healthcare by 1993 and has been there ever since. She's had a number of successful roles. She's been highly responsible, detailed, and focused. She's a bit constricted in her view of people and situations. She tends to evaluate almost everything initially through a lens of hard work, and then through make sure you're treating people right. So thematically, she's a little bit in these guardrails and may need to step back and take a broader view of people and situations that will be developmental. She's had a successful marriage, although it does appear that she is the primary breadwinner, and sees herself, as well as her spouse sees her, is a hardworking, not laid-back individual who takes on too much stress. She self-evaluates her key strengths as people skills, an ability to adjust to demand situations, generally keeping a calm demeanor, and maintaining a detailed and focused perspective. On the downside, she doesn't ask for help. She's late for asking for help, tends to be overcommitted. She's to be more of a coach and a development of talent as opposed to the chief talent herself. And at this point in her career, she is looking to find better balance and a better accommodation to work demands. This is not the situation she's in now. It is her own adaptation. And to be successful at Kelsan, she's going to have to be very intentional about making this shift, and particularly while she's trying to make the adaptation to a new demand after having been in the same role or very similar role for 25 years. Paragraph testing reveals an individual is precise and overly precise, and sometimes is overly head down. Highly responsive to the directions of authority. She does work very hard to please, yet she will share her truth and speak up when required. She's socially oriented and will work well with others, although she tends to take responsibility away from others by overdoing herself. She is, however, social and willing to collaborate. Her energy level is focused toward accomplishment, and she needs to step back from time to time to make sure she's actually focused on the right things, to assess priorities and ensure that she's not over-focused on minutia, as there may be some tendency to major in the minors or bring A work to C-level demands. She sees herself as objective, steady, conscientious, hardworking, sociable, and one is not going to let down her superiors. Paragraph. In the aggregate, Julie is a hardworking, industrious, outcome-oriented individual who is in a inflection point in her career development. It will be incumbent upon the leadership at Kelsan to help her make the appropriate shift, to put herself in a position to be a coach and a sponsor of other people's development, as well as maintain a focus on her own growth and development into an organizational leader, as well as the top financial individual in the Kelsan organization. The end.